Hello, everyone from around the world. I'm Benson Tam from Venturous, China's first Citytech group. For those of you who attended my keynote last year, I talked about smart cities as one of the biggest opportunities. This year, I want to give you an update of all the progress that we've made. Well, today we are focusing really on three messages. The first is that surprise, surprise, I actually believe China tech now is the time to invest. And within it, the second message is that where we should invest, as I said before, is smart city and the technology that builds smart cities. And then the third message I'll be talking about to you today is how we at Venturous is doing it. The perfect storm in China tech. Well, the graph on the left, I think you have seen in the last 4 to 5 months to half a year, there's been a massive roller coaster ride in China tech. Almost daily on the right, you can see scary news headlines of all the things that is happening. And you can almost say that this is the point of maximum panic and chaos. Wait a minute. If this is maximum panic and chaos, then this perfect storm in China is presenting us with a buying opportunity. So what's really happening? Now, for me, sitting now in Beijing, inside of China, I can see why it's so easy to misunderstand the actions and what is happening in China right now. You have to, first of all, look at it from a 10-year perspective point of view. China is on a mission. It's all out there. If you look at the 14th five-year plan, that's the master business plan, okay? And the CEO, our President Xi and his team is fully executing on it. And they have their own KPIs, and the idea is that by 2030, carbon peak will be reached. And by 2035, a modern society will emerge in China. What does that mean? I guess simplistically for us, this means a society that is operating a digital economy. A society that is actually, because of the data and technology, allows it to be open and fair, and allows it and sitting on top of a new economy that is likewise open and fair. That's why, to me, I can see that they are cleaning house. It is cleaning the excesses from 40 years of the opening up and transformation of the Chinese economy. And many of the industries have gone into the extreme, and that's why they are, in a sense, pushing the pendulum back. And that's why the key, I would say, intention is to help de-stress the middle class. That's the first one. The second one is also that there is a mass migration of traditional businesses in traditional economy, moving their businesses into a digital economy, into a digital world that has been accelerated enormously by the COVID situation in last year and this year. Data privacy, anti-monopoly, all of these to get a level playing field, these are very important things that are being executed in China. For me, as an investor, I think the best way to look at China is think of it as a corporation. And for us investors, it's very easy to research China as a corporation. Look at the business plan, look at the execution, look at whether they met the KPI, how efficient are they. This is much easier for us to understand what is happening in China right now. Now, another way of looking at what is happening now, a picture of it is that this is economic engineering at the top societal level. And the reason for doing that is to avoid this so-called middle income trap. This phase in the economic development of an emerging economy and market that stalled Japan for something like 1 or 2 decades. And what they are doing, what we are seeing inside of China is the 3 triple plays. Triple transformation, because digital transformation of businesses is transforming how we as citizens in the cities, how we work, how we live, and how we play. This is changing all the businesses. Meanwhile, I call the triple emergence of new technology, what I call 3rd generation internet technology. This is after the mobile internet, the 2nd generation internet, and the 1st generation internet, which is the mobile internet. I also see the next other emergence is, I said, the 2nd opening and transformation of the Chinese economy, turning it again into an all digital new economy. Because of the impact, the market size, and everything that it impacts, China Tech is becoming the largest emerging market on earth. Doing what? Building digital infrastructure, using the infrastructure to build smart cities. And who are doing that but the Citytech unicorns that are doing that? So these 3, the infrastructure, the unicorn, and the cities, are the triple targets. And together, if you think of all of that, it all boils down to the sweet spot, which is smart cities. So let me show you why. Smart city is the sweet spot. First of all, if you think of all the challenges that the human race is facing, almost all of them are city problems. Why? In another roughly 20 years or 30 years time, sorry, by 2050, 7 billion people will be living in cities. The pressure will be immense. But if you look at just today, the cities already are the source of pollution. The buildings we live in consume 1/3 of all energy, and again, are the major culprit of all the pollution and emissions. Meanwhile, 1/3 of all waste that we generate are generated by cities. So if we can fix the cities by making it smart, we actually fix many of the biggest problems of the human race. Now, where is it happening? Well, like last year, I said, it's already quietly happening for the last 10 years in hundreds of cities, towns, and districts across China. They all started pilot programs. They all started experimenting, upgrading, putting in 5G, AI, IoT, everything else. And the reason is very simple. The reason is that the cities realize that unless they become smart cities, they will not be the new centers of the digital economy, because it is only having these city tech that businesses will be attracted to move in, and so will the talents. Hundreds of them, a multi-trillion-dollar opportunity right before us. Another way of thinking is that, wow, it's a lot of technology, very complex, so how do we even grasp this? That's why we divided it into, I would say, 10 key verticals. Each of these are technology components which are must-have in an integrated, data-shared, technology-driven smart city, from smart commerce to smart traffic. Each of them will, in their own ways, start to transform how we can live better in the cities. Now, again, being very specific, I think there are 3 ingredients to the right of the slide. First of all, cities will become programmable. All the services that in the past you have to queue up, line up, and wait for will be accessible through your mobile phone that then connect to the cloud and into the city technology, the city internet. It requires what I call hyper-complex system integration, because all of these technologies, whether it's AI and all that, they all need to talk to each other. They all need to handle the data. They all need to serve the citizens. It's not simple. And in order to do that, you need a big consensus of everybody in the city, be it the government, the business, and the citizens, to work together almost like a united orchestra, where the conductor, which is the city government, actually make sure that everything is starting to be integrated together, and so that the new town doesn't take 30 years because of the chaos, and instead take 10 years because it's organized in a very systematic fashion. So how big is it? Well, according to studies, smart city is about 4 trillion in size. And the impact you can see is in the quality of life indicators. And all of these are measured by many sources and think tanks and also engineers. Environment, health, safety, and so on, by 10, sometimes even 30%. And if you look at the city verticals, Citytech verticals that we talked about last time, we can put them into 3 main buckets. How we improve the livability of the city, how we improve the sustainability, which is to do with, being green, and how do we improve the productivity, which is being efficient. Now, this is what we're talking about, this massive opportunity. In this massive opportunity, we also think that within the 10 pillars, there are 3 that are the core. Smart energy, because that's where the pollution and the greenness comes in. The building, because that's where smartness allows it to be much more efficient and less wasteful. And likewise, on the smart city management, where you can orchestrate and coordinate and make efficient a lot more of the citywide services that we're providing. From an investor's perspective, it is also very smart to be in these things, because of the 14th five-year plan, the government is supporting all of this. They need to achieve carbon neutrality. The digital infrastructure is must-have if you're going to participate in the new economy. And meanwhile, because of all of this, it will actually, we think, lower the risk while allowing, because we are at the infrastructure level, to have, in a sense, the necessary ingredient to create these long-term compound returns. And this is very important, because in this period of transformation, and you can see, from COVID, from digital transformation and everything else, these pockets of value are not only very high growth, but actually also safe harbors in this transformation of the world economy. Which leads me to the third message, which is to say, all that we have said before, we have executed. And because we are living in a world that is not business as usual, we have likewise adapted to have a group structure that is not business as usual. Like we said, we aim to be China's #1 city tech group. We focus on tech, we focus on cities, and what we do is that we make cities smart. How do we do that? By not just investing, by building, so that we are already starting our joint venture. And ultimately, we'll be operating the data, the technology, the companies, and the cities that we work with, and help build these and make these cities smart. This is actually a method that I believe is both the safest and the fastest way to build our own group core competence in city tech, so that this core competence can build up so-called the safety moat around our portfolio. Specifically, we can drill down what we mean by making a city smart. Effectively, if you look at all the words here, what it really means is that we are building a group of investing and operating companies who all focus on smart city tech, building on the infrastructure that is must-have for the future digital economy and smart cities. And this capability ultimately will create the future better city living in these smart cities. That's what we're doing. Specifically, that's what we're doing. Now, I'm going to go even more granular from here. We said that there are 10 pillars. We said that within the 10 pillars, there are a couple of core areas. Smart energy, we already have a major stake in one of the leading companies. We'll talk about Anjie later. Smart digital transformation, iSoftStone. Smart city management, iSTech. The two are actually spun out of the whole iSoftStone group. And meanwhile, we are also in smart buildings on a JV that is going to be announced shortly. Around that, on the other 7, where the technology is still emerging, we are putting much smaller investments to test out some of the leading companies that are much more early stage compared to the late stage pre-IPO companies that are in the core for us. That's why we have created this core companies, ecosystem companies, and operating subsidiaries, all working together to create and make cities smarter. Now, again, coming back to the core, because that's the bedrock. The bedrock on energy is our investment in Anjie. This is one of the leading energy networking company in China. Their products are smart energy, AIoT technologies. They are dominant in Tianjin and they're going national. They have 18 years of building energy systems, and it's only in the last 5 that they started adding networking to it. And this was transformational because with the additional networking capabilities in the energy systems, they can now save somewhere between 15 to 30% of energy cost of every building that uses the equipment. That's why their revenue has been growing strongly. And that's why, like I said, this is a strong pre-IPO company that we have built a major stake in as a platform for us to build on top of. The same with iSoftStone. They are the leading company for digital transformation services, serving almost all the top companies in China, many of the top companies in many of the sectors, including some of the familiar names like Huawei, Alibaba, Tencent, Baidu, and so on. This is a serious company, 2 billion revenue in 2020, 70,000 employees and engineers around, dotted around China. This is, again, a bedrock for us. The third one is iSTech, which was spun out of iSoftStone. Now, the way to think about it is that iSoftStone was the one that has been focusing on business transformation. But the next complexity is city transformation, from city to smart city, where the systems are even more complex. So that's why iSoftStone created 10 years ago the division which now became iSTech and which was spun out to be a separate company. So the iSoftStone is the 2B, to business company, and iSTech is the 2G, the smart city management company. Again, late stage, 200 million plus revenue, serious company, serious technologies. Which then brings me to our strategic partner, Arup. For those of you in real estate, construction, and so on, OV Arup is the name. If you go to China or the rest of the world, frankly, You look at the tallest buildings, you look at the longest bridges, chances are they were built by Arup. The structural engineer, who actually coordinate and do and structure and build these buildings. But they don't just do buildings, they do cities as well. That's why as we focus on smart cities, Arup is the must-have partner for us. And another sort of keyword that I sometimes use to describe Arup is to say they are the Google of construction. The engineers, the structural engineers of buildings, bridges, and cities. And they are our strategic partner. Well, the core of our unique structure is the group structure. And the most unique feature of it is that it can IPO itself, just like any group structure that was created by many of the top families in Asia. It can IPO itself, making it very listable. The structure makes it flexible, extensible. We can add stuff to it, and very efficient in terms of the cost and compliance and so on. Specifically, the group structure allows us to invest, build, and operate. If you look at the right-hand side of the slide. This is much more than investing because smart cities require the players to be participants in the building and operation. It allows our investors, our shareholders, optionality to join in these new joint ventures, new companies that will be building and operating. This optionality is very attractive for our shareholders. And of course, like we said, it's much more flexible. And then, so these are the reasons, some of the key reasons for the group structure. And so what is the secret sauce? What is the code that we built everything on? I would say the key is the long-term enduring compound returns. To me, the best way to create value for our shareholders is to create compound returns for decades that we have done and that I've done in the past. But in order to do that, 20 years is a long time. So we also, other than the so-called the long win, meaning winning in the returns, we should also have the quick win. The quick win where we protect capital and control risk, in our case, by investing into these core portfolio, pre-IPO company, serious companies that can get us gradually building into the long-term enduring returns. At the same time, we don't forget that there are many optionalities that we can buy and build on top of that, all of which is a combination that we think minimizes the risk and maximizes the return. And if you also look at much more specifically how we do it, the bottom three is the key. Strategic yet opportunistic. This is the Peter Lynch barbell approach. 20-year perspective, meaning that you are basically joining me in my 20 years of relationship since the birth of internet. You are also joining me in the sense that we are looking forward into the vision of the technology evolution for the next 20 years. You are also joining me as the deep partnerships we have with the CEO, with the big teams that we can leverage in the cutting edge market intelligence. So, well, having said all of that, I would like to show you the money, We were very fortunate in the early part of this year to have closed Asia's largest Series A in Citytech, 131 million Series A. And within it, I eat my own cooking. I'm the lead investor. I put in 50 million of my own money into it, my family money into it. Fidelity China Special Situations is the leading institutional investor, and with 35 million, they agreed with us. Likewise, Mr. Savio Kwan, he put in 10 million with us, agreeing to our vision and our way and the opportunity that is smart cities. I would like to spend a little bit of time also talking about the roadmap to the IPO. We are already building up a group that ultimately we think in a few years' time, when we list in Hong Kong, would have, as we say, a number of core companies, other companies, and also operating subsidiaries that actually generate our own revenues. That's why we call it a group. So with that, I will finish off. We have various events throughout the year. We are always on the internet, but most importantly, if you want to have a talk with us one-to-one, please contact my colleague, Johan, and he'll set it up for you. So with that, good morning, good afternoon, good night. Thank you.